My name is H.A. Goodman. I'm an author, columnist, and journalist. Please go ahead and share my latest article in the Daily Caller, Free Julian Assange. That is below. It explains exactly why Julian Assange is being persecuted, why he deserves his freedom, and why he should have been free from day one. Please go ahead and share that article. This is just wonderful news, and it's unbelievable, especially in this political climate where they all hate Trump. They just hate him, they hate him, they hate him. They don't want to do anything to stop him. Blame Russia without evidence. They don't care. They don't care. The cure for cancer could could happen under the Trump administration, and the pussy hats would protest in the streets. They would lobby for asbestos. They would lobby for smokers' rights. They don't care. It's now beyond. They've gone beyond logic and reason into pure and unadulterated hate, salty hate. That's the new definition of Democrats. I'll read you. House members formally nominate Trump for Nobel Peace Prize. This is the New York Post. So, it's just unbelievable. He's going to win the Nobel Peace Prize. President Moon Jae-in has stated that Trump deserves the Nobel Peace Prize. So, TYT did this segment. They're like, well, Henry Kissinger won the prize, and Obama won the prize, and he then droned the planet. It's like the same standard. This is why the left is crumbling under the immense pressure of its own hypocrisy. The same standard was not applied to President Obama. They praised him. They just talked about how wonderful he is. He was lauded for just winning the prize, the Nobel Peace Prize. Oh my God, it was amazing. Oh my God. He's going to usher in this new era of hope and change, and then destroys Libya, gets us into Yemen, gets us into Syria, attacks whistleblowers. He was a moderate to establishment Republican on a whole bunch of things. Then they wonder why they lost. At least Trump is less hawkish, less militant, and he's presiding over his foreign policy worked. And if you don't believe me, President Moon of South Korea stated that it worked. So I find it very difficult to understand. Before I get to Trump being officially nominated, and I had a segment prior to this one talking about how he's going to win the prize, but President Moon, Trump deserves Nobel Peace Prize. South Korean president says Trump deserves Nobel Peace Prize. What part of that is controversial to liberals or to progressives or to people on the left? What part of that is controversial? I used to label myself as a progressive, but I had to stop doing that because there are a lot of progressives who are great. I'm not saying, but I should say liberals or Democrats. Here you have a president, and if it was President Clinton, she would be on every single cover, Time Magazine, Vogue, whatever, Newsweek, every single CNN. Oh my God, Madam Secretary. Oh, she's so amazing. Could you imagine if she presided over peace? But that wouldn't have happened because I'm going to read. She told bankers, Goldman Sachs bankers, that she threatened China by raining them with missile defense, which is exactly why China would refrain from any peace talks, from furthering any peace talks. So China deserves credit as well. President Moon of South Korea deserves obviously the most credit. But if it was any other president, they'd be like, oh my God, this person is so great, he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize. House members formally nominate Trump for Nobel Peace Prize. So it's happening, folks. You have to have some political will. You have to have some political push, because you're not going to get it from the media. Usually the media is all over this, and they push people. Oh my God, he's so great. Oh, she's so great. With Trump, it's like his tweets are just so bad and horrible. True, that's, there's this momentous, amazing, breathtaking, paradigm-changing peace between North and South Korea, but oh my God, his tweets. This is a profanity alert before I get to this. I can't, they want these delusional, this is a profanity alert, these fucking delusional clowns want a 12-hour interview. They want Trump to interview with Mueller for 12 hours when Hillary Clinton had tea and brunch with Peter Strzok, who was engaging in an insurance policy, and deleted 5 references to gross negligence. Meanwhile, she committed crimes. There's evidence of crimes she committed. Trump didn't even commit a crime. There's no accusation of a crime he committed. There's no evidence that he committed any crimes. They haven't even specifically stated any crime that he could have committed in their delusional, insane fucking alternate universe. Yet Jeffrey Toobin is like, obstruction of justice on CNN. Like, you can't obstruct justice. Well, what justice is there? And he's a brilliant legal mind. I have nothing against Mr. Toobin. He's a great guy. But where is the obstruction if there's no crime? You're obstructing the process of investigating a non-crime, an imaginary crime. Okay. Anyway, Washington. The effort to win President Trump a new piece of gold kicked off in earnest Wednesday. 18 House members sent a letter to the Nobel Committee in Norway to formally nominate Trump for the 2019 Nobel Peace Prize. I cannot think of no one more deserving of the committee's recognition in 2019 than President Trump for his tireless work to bring peace to our world. Signed letter by Representative Luke Messer and other GOP House members. Trump is planning historic talks with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un to rid the rogue nation of nuclear weapons. Fans at a rally in Michigan Saturday rewarded Trump's effort with chants of Nobel. So this is not about being a Trump supporter. I support President Trump. And I support President Trump in large part because he is truly shaking up the system. We now have corrupt FBI officials who've been completely exposed, corrupt CIA officials exposed. Forget about policy now. This is about the future of the country. You don't want corrupt FBI officials just utilizing a dossier created by some moron in another country to influence our election. That is a big influence. So this is beyond policy. Plus, you get good policies. The steel tariffs are good. The economy's going well, and you get a foreign policy that's led to already this monumental achievement. It's just unbelievable. It's too much to handle in terms of the petty, pure, unadulterated, unfiltered hatred for Trump. It's mind-boggling to see President Moon and Kim Jong-un shake hands. It was like a beautiful dream. Like, I'm watching this dream. Is this reality? And I'll explain why it didn't happen under President Obama. It didn't happen under President Obama and Clinton when she was Secretary of State. Because their ridiculous plan of attack was to bully China. China has always utilized North Korea as a buffer to the United States of America. As a kind of, there was one cartoon basically like China is like holding this like pit bull or like this it was like North Korea. We'll let North Korea out at you. If it was this political cartoon a while back. But everybody knew that China had always utilized North Korea as a way to kind of preoccupy the United States of America militarily and in terms of a global threat. It was a threat that we had to deal with. We were dealing with North Korea, so that gave us less time or energy or resources to then confront China. Okay, with Clinton, it was reinforce China's foreign policy goal by intimidating them, and I'll get to that in a second. And who did she tell? She told bankers. And by the way, she had a public and private face to these bankers, and then the media was like, that's no problem, that's fine. House Republicans nominate Nobel Peace Prize. I pray and I want, and you got to make this happen to the people who, left and right, who watch this YouTube channel. Make it happen.
The LA Times called Gavin Newsom.
Right? Do whatever you need to do, whatever you want to do. Write to your congressman. Share articles about Trump winning the Nobel Peace Prize. South Korea President Trump deserves Nobel Peace Prize. South Korean President Moon Jae-in said U.S. President Donald Trump deserves a Nobel Peace Prize for his efforts to end the standoff with North Korea over its nuclear program. President Trump should win the Nobel Peace Prize. What we need is only peace, Moon told a meeting of senior secretaries. Moon and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un on Friday pledged at a summit to end hostilities between their countries and work towards complete denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. That also requires American support and the willingness of America to also say, hey, you know what? We're not going to attack North Korea, which is what Trump already basically promised to Kim Jong-un. But you don't get this. You don't even get this acknowledgement. They're like, well, Trump didn't do anything. It had nothing to do with Trump. Meanwhile, the president of South Korea says it did. It happened during Trump's presidency. His foreign policy of, being aggressive and then talks that were not necessarily publicized. Pompeo meeting Kim Jong-un to speak about peace talks with North and South Korea. We have soldiers at the DMZ. We have a very large military presence in South Korea. Aircraft carriers initially, when Trump was first, shortly after Trump became president, were being sent to the Korean Peninsula to reinforce a show of strength. It worked. This is a profanity alert. Do not listen if you don't want to hear profanity. Do not listen if you don't want to hear profanity. It worked. These fucking sore losers, they'll stop at nothing. They don't even want peace. So it's not even that. We already knew people on the left really didn't have. They view anti-war. They call anti-war people as like isolationists. It's actually a good thing to just destroy countries because it shows you really care. And then they claim to be a lot of people on the left. Not, I can't say all, but there are some really, really good people, obviously. But there's a lot of people on the left who are like, oh, yeah, I don't like Democrats. At the end of the day, they always vote Democrat. They're a bunch of liars and hypocrites. But there's no anti-war movement on the left, and this actually shows that. They don't even want the president to win the Nobel Peace Prize for peace between North and South Korea. It completely and utterly obliterates their talking points. So they cannot possibly go on. What are they going to run on? Trump is an insane madman. Yet, oh, by the way, he won the Nobel Peace Prize. Now they're denigrating the Nobel Peace Prize. They're like, oh, look at this person who won it. He really didn't deserve it. She really didn't deserve it. Well, yeah. The same media that loved Henry Kissinger, that loved Obama, that loved other people who won it. The media was okay with them winning. That's the problem. That's what's called hypocrisy. When you act, when you're extremely happy and you praise Obama for winning, but you're not so happy when Trump might win it, then you're really not happy. And you know what? Let's look at it from a broad context. Do people? Is this Nobel Peace Prize really a great prize to begin with? They're the biggest hypocrites. They act one way when it benefits them, and they then act another way when it doesn't benefit, and when it actually destroys their propaganda. Let's go ahead also. There's absolutely no way that there would be peace between North and South Korea right now. So House Republicans, 18 House Republicans formally nominated President Trump to win the Nobel Peace Prize. It would never have taken place under Clinton. Let's talk about why. Clinton warned the U.S. would ring China with missile defense, hacked email. First of all, the email wasn't hacked, but whatever. This is Reuters. U.S. Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton said in a private speech to bankers 3 years ago the United States had warned Beijing. By the way, she visited Beijing her first 3 months in office using an AT&T email account. Minor footnote, minor detail, she was so sloppy. Anyway, whatever. Look, Clinton will eventually get indicted. That it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. The U.S. Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton said in a private speech to bankers 3 years ago that the United States had warned Beijing it would ring China with missile defense unless it did more to rein in North Korea's missile program. According to a purported Clinton campaign document attached to an email published by WikiLeaks, and this is why we need WikiLeaks. See, the thing is, how many speeches from Trump are hidden? How many speeches did he give for hundreds of thousands of dollars to investment banks that he just won't, he will prevent from people hearing or listening to? He doesn't care. Trump has these open rallies, and he's like, okay, look, I want people to hear me. You disagree? Fine. Clinton would not give her speech transcripts. She would not give her speech because obviously she had a public and private face. She told people she had a public and private face. We'll get to that in a second. But she also said that she was going to ring China with missile defense. You either control them. This is a quote from her. Clinton said in a speech to Goldman Sachs on June 4th, 2013. This is shortly after she left her wonderful tenure as Secretary of State, which not only you had Benghazi, not only you had the destruction of Libya, but you also had a private server that was collecting classified data outside the U.S. government that even theoretically the NSA had no access to. Yet we're supposed to trust that she didn't send love letters to Putin, even though money was funneled to the Clinton Foundation from Uranium One investors. That's cash flow to the Clinton Foundation amid the Russian uranium deal. Okay, that is a verbatim article title in the New York Times. But anyway, you either control them or we're going to have to defend against them. She told China the amazing wisdom of Clinton. You either control them or we're going to have to defend against them. It's so stupid. So what Democrats have always done, well, what they've done lately, the past several decades, I should say, is they've tried to mask their social policies or their social values or beliefs by being belligerent or by being hawkish. So they balance out what some would consider a softer side with, oh, well, we're really tough. In fact, we're tougher than the Republicans. Look, we hate Russia. We're even going to blame them for our loss. Oh, my God, this is patriotism. But they don't, like, that's, they know that they have a problem in terms of being viewed as unpatriotic. So what they do is they try to then latch on to, oh, well, look what we did in Libya. We destroyed the country. Isn't that great? No, it's not great, you dummies. You're not hawkish and you're not patriotic. At least not in terms of the image you're trying to portray or trying to attain. But it was not possible to confirm. Okay, so the State Department on Friday declined to comment. Although Clinton's reported comments raised a stir in Asia, they are consistent with U.S. efforts to convince China to help restrain North Korea's nuclear and ballistic missile programs, which so far have borne little fruit. What's the problem with the ballistic missile program? What's the problem with that? Because the Iran deal allowed Iran. This is another one of Obama's beautiful achievements that's completely blowing up in the faces of Democrats yet another failed policy or program. The Iran deal allowed Iran to have a ballistic missile program. They had 23 ballistic missile tests. So this fantastic Iran deal allowed Iran to test and to further its delivery system of the nuclear weapon it's certainly not engaged in testing and in creating. It's not happening. They're just testing the ballistic missiles to launch, it's just a giant Pez dispenser. And it's just going to unleash this, unholy fury of Pez candies. Candies. What are they? I forgot what they're called. Pez. Oh, Lord. Now I have to look this up. If you were a kid in the 80s, Pez dispenser. Okay, so they still sell them. Pez candy. Yeah. So that's what these ballistic missiles, it's a giant Pez dispenser. And they're testing the ballistic missiles, but Iran is definitely not using it to potentially test a nuclear warhead. But in this Reuters article, they're like, oh, North Korea's ballistic missile program, it's a big problem. And this pretty much is consistent with Obama's failed policy of attacking China and trying to intimidate China. That's one of the reasons Obama and Clinton, and 8 years of Obama was just basically like 8 years of of Bush. Trump, 2 years, and you get peace in North Korea and South Korea. But if the rationale was, we'll intimidate China, that'll show them, and that reinforces the need for a belligerent North Korea. Trump had, even though he talked about, trade, tariffs, or whatever, he still has a pretty good, very good relationship with Xi Jinping. But that's the problem with the media. The media will not give anyone outside the norm, anyone outside the establishment norm, a break. What David Fahrenthold of the Washington Post, before he won his fantastic Pulitzer Prize, what did he find out? The Pulitzer was like, brilliant work finding out that Trump wasn't as generous as he claimed to be. What? This is now Pulitzer Prize worthy stuff. If you find out somebody isn't as generous. And the Trump Foundation is like the teacup ride at Disneyland compared to the Clinton Foundation. $10 billion stolen from Haiti, pay-to-play schemes, weapons deals. You can go on forever. Uranium One. Anyway, so, and then there's an IRS probe. They'll pick a crime, any crime. So when the indictments go down and it's not the Espionage Act or it's not the Clinton Foundation and it's just the IRS or it's just something to do with some, one of the many crimes that both Hillary and Bimbo Dickens, her husband Billy, committed. And they say, well, you said, because the haters, they know no bounds. Haters are like, well, Trump, oh no, dang it, there's peace now between North and South Korea. So when Clinton eventually does get indicted, and I'm proven right and vindicated yet again, because I'm usually vindicated on things that I talk about, Clinton losing, the Russia probe being nonsense, a lot of things. I even did a segment about James Comey being fired. He was eventually fired. Anyway, they'll say, well, you know what, it wasn't imminent, and she was indicted on, tax evasion or charity fraud. You're still an idiot, H.A. So that's what you have to deal with. In life, the haters are going to cling on to anything. Because if they looked in the mirror, if the average hater looked in the mirror, what would they find? They would find hypocrisy. They would find, a sad, pathetic person who hasn't achieved what you've achieved, but they're going to try to attack you for any accomplishment that you've, managed to achieve. And especially if they're like a groupthink hater, the Democratic Party cult member, they're like, well, we lost the election, but gosh darn it was Russia. And you know what? You're a Russian operative or whatever. And then the Mueller probe, Mueller will eventually be fired, and that'll look stupid. They'll look stupid again. Trump will win again, and then they'll run on Mueller. You'll see like statues of Mueller erected. And nobody will care. They'll run commercials right before the midterms with like Mueller, and even the average voter will be like, "Who is that guy?" Mueller could walk into like any Denny's or any restaurant. People won't know who he is. But to Democrats, he's like, "Oh my God, this, saint, this person who's so unbiased, Saint Mueller. Oh, look at Saint Mueller. He's just trying to do what's great for the country." Based on what? Well, the Steele dossier. BuzzFeed is suing the DNC, right? What? Who's BuzzFeed? What's going on? They don't care. They don't care. They don't care. They don't care. It's now just a matter of It's just a matter now of dealing with hate-filled imbeciles who will stop at nothing to justify how wrong they've been. So that's it. That's it. It's not even like you're not debating Democrats or people on the left now. It's not a matter of a battle of wits. It's now dealing with the psychological damage of realizing you've been wrong for so long and then having to then justify your failed view of reality, your irrational view of reality. So they've done a really good job with Trump Russia, and they're like, okay, well, now we really believe it. Even if there's no evidence, there had to be something. So they've kind of like rebounded from their monumental loss with everyone crying at the Jacob Javits Center, oh my God, and these meltdowns. Meanwhile, like me and Sticks and other people were like, hey, told you so. You know, but it's like now they're confronted with the reality that Trump is now nominated to win the Nobel Peace Prize. And once you get this nomination from House Republicans, you're going to get more House Republicans because it helps them in the midterms. And you get a push now that he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize. More people are talking about it. And it's like they don't know what to do, Democrats. They're now attacking the Nobel Peace Prize. It's actually really amusing and beautiful to watch. It's literally like cult members finding out that the cult leader can't fly or isn't, superhuman. They're like, well, you know what, though? He can't fly because, well, he only flies at a certain time of night. And, well, it's the daytime now. Like, they don't... It's very difficult for them to understand. So now they're like, well, the Nobel Peace Prize isn't really all that anyway. I mean, when Obama won, it was, like, fantastic. And they're just hating. They're like, well, it didn't happen anyway. Well, President Moon, he didn't have any influence. Well, President Moon of South Korea says he deserves it. Well, you know what? And then they backtrack again. There's no end to the hate. We averted a big threat called a Clinton presidency. Her big thing was ringing China with missile defense. And you wonder, again, why Trump is not only less hawkish, why his foreign policy has already worked. President Trump's biggest mistake was Libya. President Obama's biggest mistake was Libya. President Obama told who was it on Fox News, said, yeah, my biggest mistake, quote-unquote mistake, was Libya. In 2 years, Trump's biggest triumph is now peace on the Korean Peninsula. Democrats overlook Obama's biggest mistake, which was tragedy, chaos, mayhem, madness, death, destruction, and try to mitigate and undermine Trump's achievement, which is an historic peace. At the worst case scenario for Democrats, you have to at least say it happened under Trump. It happened during the Trump presidency, which would then logically mean something he did led to say that nothing he did. Like, if you want to say, well, it was hardly Trump, but to say that nothing Trump did is completely irrational. And it's just the reality that he's not a madman who will, destroy the planet. That reality is so difficult for the haters on the left to take. It's just too much for them. It's just too much to take. So now you have a push, a real political push, which is what you need. Then you'll slowly get a media push. And once he wins the prize, good luck trying to beat him in 2020 by calling him a madman. The guy you said was an unhinged person who should be psychologically evaluated because he was so crazy, has now presided over peace on the Korean Peninsula between North and South Korea. The big issue, obviously, is the courage and the heroism of President Moon of South Korea, and, something good that Kim Jong-un is doing. You know, this is good for the Korean people. This is amazing. This is breathtaking. This is beautiful. And instead of acknowledging that, it's, oh my God, look at his tweets. Oh my God. Salty, delusional, sad, pathetic haters. Biggest haters. The average Democrat is like that person in your life or that you've met before who they're just a hater. They say anything good you do, like, well, I could have done it better, and, too bad you were succeeded. I wasn't pulling for you, but gosh, I look stupid now. What do I do? Oh, I'll hate even more. Give me your thoughts below. Share this segment everywhere. The Democratic Party's worst nightmare is taking place. Trump is going to win the Nobel Peace Prize. Oh my God. Can you imagine? TYT is already doing segments on, the Nobel Peace Prize wasn't all that great to begin with. So there's an insurance policy for Trump Russia. There are now contingency plans. Once he wins the Nobel Peace Prize, it wasn't that great anyway. But you were so happy when Obama won. Well, I have to reevaluate things because Trump won it. It's called hypocrisy. Give me your thoughts below. Share this segment everywhere and subscribe right now to this YouTube channel. Thank you so much for listening.